First tonight, we continue working the latest on yesterday's tragic school shooting in southern Florida. The teenage suspect has now been charged with multiple counts of premeditated murder. This as classmates remember warning signs that might have foreshadowed yesterday's violence. 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz had his first court appearance in Broward County today. He's now charged with 17 counts of murder. Meanwhile, a chain-link fence outside the school is turning into a memorial. Students gathered to grieve today, leaving flowers and crosses to remember the victims killed in the nation's deadliest attack in 5 years. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen joins us now live in studio where things stand tonight. Steve?
Well, Mike Shannon, we are still hearing new information moment by moment. In just the last 30 minutes, we've learned that according to a police report, the suspect, Nicholas Cruz, confessed to the shooting and hiding extra ammunition in his backpack. Now, we are still waiting for official word from authorities on the names of the 17 victims as Cruz was in court and held without bail. Authorities, though, have yet to release a specific timeline of what they believe Cruz did step by step yesterday in Florida. They said they would release that play-by-play in a news conference at some point today. It's been pushed back a few times. We do expect that news conference to happen in the next few moments, though. The officer who says he arrested Cruz, Michael Leonard of the Coconut Creek Police Department, did reveal how he spotted the suspect. He told reporters he was told to be on the lookout for someone, and as he drove down a neighborhood near the school, he spotted someone fitting that description.
Training kicked in. I pulled my vehicle over immediately, engaged the suspect. He complied with my commands and was taken into custody without any issues.
Now, meantime, the FBI confirms they're looking into a YouTube comment posted under a video in 2017 that said, quote, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." The FBI, though, says they cannot confirm if it was indeed the suspect who posted that. Other social media posts show Cruz posing with guns. Thursday morning, FBI agents were seen searching the home of the family he was staying with. A lawyer for the family says he was a friend of their son. Cruz moved in following the death of his adoptive mother in November. The school superintendent says Cruz had been expelled from Stoneman Douglas High School for disciplinary reasons. A student who heard the gunfire said he never would have thought the suspect would do this.
Well, he actually was a cashier at the Dollar Tree, and like I would talk to him. He seemed like a normal guy, and like I never thought he would go around, murdering like countless victims, 18.
The Associated Press is reporting the leader of a white nationalist group has confirmed Cruz was a member of their organization. He's now charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Steve. Yesterday's tragedy hitting close to home for some Massachusetts men.
We've learned a pair of recruiters from Nichols College in Dudley were at the school at the time of the shooting. Eyewitness News reporter Caroline Goggin is in our newsroom now with more on what they had to say about the moment the shots were fired. Caroline?
Well, Shannon and Mike, Paul Brower is the assistant dean of admissions at Nichols. He's also an assistant football coach at the school. He was locked inside an office in the high school when gunfire rang out.
One of the most surreal moments was watching these young students and just, having to see them go through that. It was heart-wrenching because, these are fixtures in these kids' lives, and to see them go through this was really just not something I could have ever imagined.
And Brower and an assistant coach are due back home in Massachusetts tonight. The president of Nichols College releasing a statement today saying that he is thankful the two men are safe and alive. He's also expressing his condolences to the victims and the Parkland community. I'm Caroline Goggin, Eyewitness News. Our coverage of the Florida school shooting continues now at 5:30.
Are you Nicholas Jacob Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. You are charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder.
That's the teenage suspect Nicholas Cruz, who made his first court appearance in Broward County earlier today. In the last 15 minutes, we've learned the suspect was dropped off at the high school yesterday by an Uber, entered an east stairwell, readied his rifle, and began shooting. 17 people were killed.
This says some of the names of the victims killed in that horrific school shooting are starting to emerge tonight. Tribute pages on social media have identified two of the victims as students, Jamie Guttenberg and Nicholas Rowett.
Also among those killed, an assistant football coach and security guard who ran to help when the shooting started. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen has been tracking the latest developments on this story.
And he joins us now live in studio with the latest details. Steve?
Well, Mike, Caroline, we have been breaking down for you the last 24 hours the step-by-step details of what police believe happened inside Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. As we've been tracking that, the stories of heroic actions along the way are starting to be told. The Broward County Sheriff, Scott Israel, made sure to mention that his friend, Aaron Feis, was one of those heroes. The high school football team confirmed on Twitter the assistant football coach, Feis, was one of the 17 killed. They said, quote, he selflessly shielded students from the shooter when he was shot. He died a hero, and he will forever be in our hearts and memories.
The kids in this community loved him. They adored him. He was one of the greatest people I knew. He was a phenomenal man. And I don't know the specifics yet, but I can tell you what, when Aaron Feis died, when he was killed, tragically, inhumanely, he did it protecting others. You can guarantee that, because that's who Aaron Feis was.
We also learned inside the building in those chaotic moments, students say the fire alarm was pulled. One student, David Hogg, told us how an alert janitor stopped them from going toward the gunfire.
I start going with them. I follow the herd, and it turns out that we were actually running towards the school shooter. And thank God for a janitor stopping us right before we got anywhere near close to the freshman building. He stopped us, and he got us into Chef Kurth with Chef Kurth's help into her classroom. I would say about 30 to 40 students into this teacher's classroom at the same time. And as a result of their heroic actions, they saved probably all of our lives, about 40 of us.
Those are just two stories of many heroic actions that were taken in Parkland yesterday, actions that likely saved lives. Doctors at surrounding hospitals also credited the first responders for the speed at which they were able to bring the victims to the ER, saying that speed also likely saved multiple lives. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.
First at 6, Florida and the country are mourning the 17 people killed in the Florida school shooting yesterday.
Within the last hour, Florida law enforcement officials released new information on the timeline of the shooting and what the suspect did after.
The names of the victims are also being released tonight. Today, hundreds gathered for vigils in Parkland for those who lost their lives. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen begins our coverage tonight live in studio. Steve?
Shannon, Mike, a news conference just wrapped up a short time ago, and we learned police believe an Uber car dropped off Nicholas Cruz outside the school yesterday afternoon. They say he entered the east stairwell of a high school building with a rifle in a case, pulled it out, readied his rifle, and he began shooting into 4 classrooms back and forth. Then they say he went up a floor shooting a victim, then went another floor. At that point, police believe he left his gun, ran back down on foot, running with the other students fleeing. They say the suspect arrived at a store, bought a drink, then went to a fast food restaurant, sat down for a while, and about 40 minutes later, he was found by an officer walking on the road and arrested. And we're starting to learn the identities of the victims. Police now releasing all of their names, and family members have started to pay tribute online, like student Jamie Gutenberg, who is a freshman according to Facebook and a dancer, Nicholas Dworet, a star athlete with a swimming scholarship to the University of Indianapolis according to social media posts. The assistant coach of the football team, Aaron Feis, is being called a hero for shielding students from gunfire with his body. Lori Alhadef's daughter, Alyssa, was one of the victims. She spoke to CNN this afternoon.
How do we allow a gunman to come into our children's school? How do they get through security? What security is there? There's no metal detectors. The gunman, a crazy person, just walks right into the school, knocks down the window of my child's door, and starts shooting her and killing her.
We learned, according to a police report, the suspect, Nicholas Cruz, confessed to the shooting and hiding extra ammunition in his backpack. Classmates of his today say the 19-year-old had threatened other students and bragged about killing animals before he was expelled from the Stoneman Douglas High School for disciplinary reasons. Cruz had posted photos of himself on Instagram holding knives and guns. The Broward County Sheriff begged the public in the future to point out red flags. He was arraigned in Broward County, held without bail, facing 17 counts of premeditated murder. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.